Hey everybody, I almost said welcome to Fashion Friday, but it is Saturday. I have not done a video in a while, and I thought I was inspired a little bit by some stuff going on. I was inspired by my birthday. Thank you, by the way, for all of my birthday wishes. I really appreciate it. I'm going to actually show you what I wore the night of my birthday because it's in this rack. So, as you can tell from the title, we are going to be talking about secondhand and vintage clothes today. My favorite subject. I got into secondhand clothes and vintage clothes when I was a teenager and I had no money, but I wanted to look really cool. And also, the stuff that I wanted to find to wear was not in stores at all. So that was me going to Goodwill and thrift stores and eventually working my way up to vintage. And I still love a good thrift store when I have time. So it's Secondhand September, and if you guys follow me on Instagram or on my business page, you will know that I am participating in this event. It's mostly happening in the UK, but basically in order to try to make a small little dent in our carbon footprint and also to try and keep fast fashion out of our dumpsters, basically. Fast fashion is a huge problem when it comes to pollution, when it comes to overcrowding our landfills. People buy something at Forever 21 for $5 and then they wear it twice and then they're done with it. So I have never really been into that whole fast fashion thing. When I was younger, I kind of bought into the whole hype. But as I've gotten older, I realized I want something that's unique and has quality. So I'm going to show you some of my favorite vintage and thrift finds. So all these are secondhand. I'm going to talk about where I found them. I'm going to be talking about what to look for when you are buying vintage and so much more. So you guys know I love a good band tee. I know that they're trendy and they come in and out, but I'm never going to not love a band tee. So I'm going to show you some of my favorites. They're all folded wonky too because I haven't worn a lot of these in a while. This is my Faces shirt. It's an authentic 70s one. This is my husband's. Have no idea where he got it, but you never see a Faces shirt. You always see a Rod shirt, which leads me to my favorite Rod shirt. You guys know I love Rod Stewart so much. So this, I got at Black Shag Vintage. Kill 'em all and let Rod sort 'em out, which is a play on kill 'em all and let God sort 'em out. I paid, I think this was more pricey because some of the vintage stores, especially ones that specialize in the band tees, they tend to be a little pricier. I think I paid like $60 for this one. But the difference is too, a lot of these shirts have like been around for 40 years and they're still going strong. This one was from a friend of mine, a Darlene Love shirt. Who has a Darlene Love shirt? It's got all her hits on it. Because it's funny, I wear mostly band shirts during like the week. Like I'm going out today to run some errands. So I think that in the spring and summer, it's the quickest way to kind of like, you know, throw something on that looks cool. This was also from Black Shag Vintage, and we're gonna actually touch on this designer in a little bit. My vintage Biba shirt from the store. Judging by the letters on it, I would say this is the 70s one. The Biba letters are like bigger and more bubbly. They look like bubble letters. I need to fold these properly when I am done with this video. But that's a shirt that you're not gonna find anywhere else. Biba was open in the UK and she eventually sold later in JCPenney in America, but you're not gonna find that. You guys have seen this one a million times. My Todd Rundgren Utopia shirt, also from Black Shag Vintage. We give that guy a lot of money. But this one was, I wanna say 70, but it's already worn in. And it's a specialty item, but when you think about it, when I do a wardrobe job, I have to wear all black, and having something like this, it sets me apart from everybody else, and also it's usually a good conversation piece. I actually wore that during one of my last gigs, and it started a nice conversation. This is my favorite vintage band shirt that I own, and this one actually is falling apart. I got this at Live True Vintage, and I paid $35 for it. The Ruddles! Ruddlemania. This one is falling apart. So I did pay $35 for it, but this was a promotional shirt for the movie The Ruddles. I don't really wear this one. I wore it when I did the Ruddles show on Hippie Radio, but this is more of an art piece that I just like to show off. I need to fold you properly too. So I wear band shirts all the time. I actually used to find a ton of band shirts at Goodwill, and I would do stuff like this to them. I would, you know, rip the neck out. I would do something like this so it looks a little more feminine. This one's tied up, so it's like not as boxy. that was a really fun way to show my personality. But let's move on to the higher end stuff. So the same friend that sent me the Darlene Love shirt sent me this. Secondhand doesn't have to be just in a thrift store. It can also be swapping clothes with your friends. This is a stage jacket that was worn by Mike from the Dave Clark 5. I will never wear this, but I love the Dave Clark 5, so I just like having it. As far as stuff I actually wear, so this is Ozzy Clark. This is, Ozzy Clark was a designer in predominantly the 70s that designed all of like Mick and Keith's stuff for like all the great tour clothes. It's like any of Mick's jumpsuits, Ozzy Clark. Saw a lot of the original stuff in the exhibitionism exhibit. This one was on eBay. I got it from a dealer in England and I paid $12 plus shipping. And that's a nice little dress to wear when you're out and about. Its big sister, this was one of my first designer pieces I ever bought. This is a Halston. You've seen me wear this before. This is a Halston wrap dress. It's Halston 4, so this is when Halston had already kind of had his heyday. And I believe these were carried in JCPenney in the 70s. I need to go back and check. But I paid $7.99 for this dress 6 years ago, and I've worn the crap out of it. And it's classic. It's my favorite color. It's something that you cannot find in a store anywhere else, because this dress retailed for like a few $100 easily back in the day. So that was a Goodwill find. This is also from a friend. This is a vintage Versace leather collar with the Medusa head on it. And he's a vintage dealer, so I don't know what he paid for it. This is a newer piece. This is a Diane von Furstenberg. This is not her wrap dress. This is a leopard. You guys have seen me wear this. Kind of like a more kind of caftan, I guess. It's a shorter one. This is a newer DVF dress, but I got this at Flip Consignment in Nashville, and I paid, I think, $12 for it, and it retailed for $2.48 when I looked at the tag. So it's a high quality piece. I had to do a little bit of digging, but it's something that I will wear all the time, and it's not something that I'm going to run into with somebody else. Speaking of Halston, this was also a Goodwill find. This is my favorite blazer. It needs to be steamed. This is actual Halston, like when he was in his heyday. So like you would wear this to the office and take it off to go to Studio 54. Halston, for those of you that don't know, was a huge designer for all the girls at Studio 54. Bianca Jagger wore his stuff. Just look him up. He is responsible for the shirt dress. He's responsible for so many things, and he's one of my favorite designers of all time. So Goodwill, I think that was another $7.99 piece. And that brings me to this one. This is a vintage Christian Dior. It's a double-breasted gray wool blazer. Classic. It's never going to go out of style. Judging by the label, I want to say late 70s, early 80s, but I could be wrong. And this jacket I got on the Goodwill auction house. For those of you that don't know, Goodwill has an auction site, and you can go to their website and you bid on it like eBay. And unfortunately, since the rise of shopgoodwill, I think it's .org, the stuff that you're finding in the stores isn't as good because it's already ended up on the auction site, but sometimes you luck out. Also another Goodwill find, I've had this for 12 years. This is an Oscar de la Renta kimono, and you guys know when I was rolling up to my shitty waitressing job, but an Oscar de la Renta, it just made my life a little easier. This is his pink label, so it's the lower end label, and it's meant to technically be worn as a robe, but I wore it like, actually, I probably will wear it like this today. Band shirt, jeans, and you're good to go. This looks so cool and so bohemian, and it's designer. Who doesn't feel better in Oscar de la Renta? I feel better already. It's great. Oh, and then another piece that I have, this is an Hermes turtleneck that needs to be at the dry cleaner, and that's inside out, but you can see Hermes. This is the mustard yellow vintage sweater that I also got, I think it's another Black Shag one, but it's a wool sweater. It's Hermes, which is probably one of the more expensive brands in the world. And this was made in Belgium. A lot of these band shirts were made in America, and a lot of the designer items were made in Paris or Milan. So Halston was made in New York. But you're not going to find that quality in a modern piece made in China or made in Indonesia. You're just not going to. There are I'm actually going to list, I need to find the cheat sheet of all the kind of cheap manufactured places to avoid. DVF is manufactured in China now. Vintage DVF, I'm pretty sure, was New York. I need to look that up too. All of that said, this leads me to my last piece, my favorite vintage piece that I own right now. Aside from my purses, I have sold a lot of my purses. I still have 2 Louis Vuittons, a baby Chanel, and a Stella McCartney, all of which were secondhand. You guys have seen them. This was my birthday dress, and it is a vintage Biba, so 60s Biba because the letters are more bubbly. Black mini dress with the infamous puffed sleeve and the ruffled on the wrists. I love this piece. This piece, I paid a little bit more than I would pay if it weren't Biba, but Biba is designed, she's not still operating, by a woman named Barbara Hulanaki, and she was responsible for a lot of the 1930s kind of influence in fashion in the 70s, and I love that kind of stuff because it's glamorous, it's chic, but it's very old Hollywood. So this dress is what I wore to my birthday party, and it's really cool because my birthday dress no one else is going to have. They did limited runs, especially in the 60s. These were all done in-house. Barbara Hulanaki probably had her hands all over this, which makes me really excited because it's like having Paul McCartney over one of your guitars. And it's just a very special piece to me because I have a piece of history and no one else has that. The other really cool part about vintage clothing and secondhand clothing, you don't even have to go all bohemian and all Studio 54, Carnaby Street. You can just go to Goodwill or you can go to a vintage store and buy a blazer. You could buy a jacket, you could buy a shirt, and you can make it your own and make it modern, and you're not going to be contributing to something ending up in a landfill, and you're also going to have an outfit that nobody else has. Who else is going to wear this outfit today? Nobody, because no one has this. I hope that you enjoyed a little mini tour of all of my favorite vintage pieces, and I really encourage you to take part in Secondhand September. So go over to my Instagram, and I think it's the second one down at this point, second column down, and just see, click on it, click on the hashtag, see if you want to take the pledge too. I am so excited to share my new space with you guys. I'll be moving in October 1st. I'm really excited to kind of get the ball rolling and to take you along with me for some really, really interesting rides. Until then, go out, go thrift, go shop to your heart's content, and know that you're not doing anything to harm the planet, and you also look really cool. Until then, you wear it well.